Hey everyone, welcome back. This is week 8, and we're closing in on the end of the 9-week Transition Blueprint series. Don't forget, there's a newsletter. Each week I send information and resources on transitioning. Additionally, to get the link to download a PDF of the information covered in this series, you have to sign up for the newsletter. There's a link in the show notes. Please go sign up. Okay, like Motley Crue said, on with the show. There's going to be a moment where you realize the way you've always done things might not work anymore. It's not dramatic. There's no thunderclap, no warning shot. It's just a quiet realization that maybe, just maybe, your instincts need an update. Maybe it hits when you're sitting in a meeting and no one seems to care about your years of experience. Or maybe when you're in an interview talking to a civilian and realize they don't speak your language. Not the tactical jargon, not the mindset, not the urgency especially. Or maybe you felt it in reverse. You're the one feeling a little out of step, like the way that they operate doesn't make any damn sense. And you're stuck wondering if you're the problem or is it the room? That gap, that friction, it's not about how capable you are. It's not about how many commendations you earned or deployments you racked up. It's about operating systems. You were built for a world that runs on clarity, chain of command, and control. But outside the wire, that world runs on subtlety, influence, and soft skills that don't always show up on paper, but for sure show up in results. So with that, let's get into round 72 of the tactical transition tips. This time the topic is upgrade your operating system. For the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away or you're less than a year out, build your civilian EQ because respect isn't worn on your chest in this world. It's earned through connection. For the medium range group, those of you looking at your transition in 5 years or so, practice adaptive thinking. Because the time to stretch your mindset isn't when it's crucial. It's while you still have room to fail. And for the long range group, those of you just starting your careers, you have at least a decade before your transition, start a mental conditioning habit. Because when the day comes, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall back on your habits. Close range group, build your civilian EQ. You've spent years, probably decades, operating in an environment where structure is everything. You said what needs to be said, people move. You led with presence. You don't ask, you tell. And in your world, that's how it had to be. Lives depended on it. You needed that edge. But now you're stepping into a world that doesn't run on that frequency. There are no chevrons on the sleeves. There's no brass on the collars. No Roger that responses when you speak up in a meeting. Those things that got you here, discipline, command presence, decisive action, isn't going to get you ahead out there. It's just the reality of what's next. You're probably staring at the calendar, maybe even circling some dates. Maybe you already turned in your papers or you're thinking, this is the year. You don't need another checklist for your resume. You don't need another push to update your LinkedIn. You need to rewire how you show up in conversations, in interviews, in the workplace. And that starts with emotional intelligence. Now, I know when I say emotional intelligence, many of you just rolled your eyes. It's okay. We all do it. It sounds soft, right? You're thinking, did the DEI portion of the presentation just begin? But let me put it this way. Emotional intelligence is the difference between walking into a room and getting compliance and walking into that same room and earning influence. And once you're out of the uniform, influence is going to win every time. So first, you have to shift from command presence to collaborative presence. How do you talk to people now? Are you still in directive mode? In the field, you didn't have time for back and forths. You told people what to do and they did it. That kept people safe. That's not wrong. It's what's right for that world. But in the civilian world, the dynamic flips. People don't follow authority. They follow connection. Influence doesn't come from your volume or urgency. It comes from listening and asking good questions, creating a space for collaboration. Try this. Instead of saying, here's what needs to happen, try maybe, how do you think we should approach this? Just doing that changes the energy in the room, makes you more human, less commanding. And trust me, civilian workplaces want human, not a hard ass. So starting right now, yes, I want you to start right now. While you're still working, replace authority with curiosity. Try asking your people how to accomplish something instead of telling them. It might feel awkward at first. You'll second guess yourself, and that's okay. That awkwardness, that means you're building new muscles. What is the grind? It's not just a routine, but the decision we make to wake up and give everything we've got and find a way to go further. Grind, spelled G-R-N-D, is more than a brand. It's a movement, an emotion we all feel connected to as we work daily to pursue our goals and support each other. Founded by a former Army Ranger, Grind Activewear has a clear mission to give 100% and then some more in sport, fitness, and in life. Functional, high-quality performance wear that's rooted in American culture, because you demand gear that outworks the rest. Whether you're on the field, in the gym, or building your own lane, Grind is for those who refuse to settle. Go check out the Grind Collective at grndcollective.com and tap into something bigger than clothing. And while you're there, use the promo code TRANSITION15 to get 15% off your purchase. You're likely already on the grind. Maybe you just don't realize it yet, but the grind continues. Okay, second, observe group dynamics without dominating. Another thing that's worth dialing in right now, learn to read the room. Yes, you've been trained to lead, step forward when things go sideways. That instinct doesn't go away, nor should it. But in the civilian world, sometimes the most effective person in the room is the one who doesn't speak first, or even at all. Next time you're in a group, who the group is doesn't really matter. Don't rush to be the dominant voice. Instead, pay attention. Start learning to be a student of people. Who holds the attention of others when they speak? Who asks the question that gets people engaged? You should start to see influence in a new light, not based on rank, not based on the volume, but based on connection and timing. Knowing when to speak is a bigger asset than always being the first to speak. That's the kind of awareness you want to practice now, before it costs you in an interview or a team meeting. Third, master nonverbal communication. This one's definitely underrated. Civilians read body language way more than they read resumes. I'm talking about nodding to show engagement, keeping an open posture, making eye contact consistently. You don't need to command, you need to connect. Yes, you've probably already got great presence. You just need to recalibrate it from commanding to approachable. When someone walks away from a conversation with you and thinks, man, that guy listens, you've already won half the battle. So today, start practicing this stuff in low-stakes situations. When you're at the grocery store, when you're talking to your neighbor. These small talk moments, they may not feel like they matter, but they do. Because when doing it becomes natural, it shows up when it really counts. Fourth, recognize and control your mission-first instinct. This is probably the hardest one. You're hardwired to fix, solve, protect. That's who you've been. That's how you've led. But out here, most people don't want you to fix them. They want you to hear them. You might be in a conversation and someone's venting. Your instinct is to offer a solution. Here's what you should do. But try this instead. Pause and say something like, that sounds tough. What do you think you'll do? That's a shift. That's emotional intelligence in action. It's not about solving the problem. It's about helping them feel seen. And in the civilian world, that's actually leadership. The hard part, though, is catching yourself in the moment. That instinct to step in and take over is strong, but this is your training ground. Start noticing when that instinct kicks in, and instead of fixing, hold the space. You'll be amazed how people start to respond to you differently. Okay, to close out this section, let's be honest. None of this feels tactical. It doesn't give you that same confirmation as qualifying on the range or leading a team through a tough call. But here's what it does do. It gives you staying power in a civilian world that doesn't care what your badge said or what your rank was. It makes you the kind of professional people want to work with, promote, and refer to others. That's real value. That's real transition readiness. You don't need to master it all today, but start now. Practice the language, observe the dynamics, notice your reactions, and lean into the discomfort. Your transition isn't just about where you're going to go next. It's about who you bring with you. Medium range group. Practice adaptive thinking. I know you're not in the transition yet, but you can see it off in the distance. Just far enough away to ignore, just close enough that you know you shouldn't. Maybe it's 5 years out. Could be more, could be less, and it's easy. So easy to tell yourself, I'll deal with transition when I get closer. But remember, the people who struggle most with transition aren't the ones who didn't update their resume. They're the ones who never updated their mindset. They walked into the civilian world with a fixed identity, rigid expectations, and a playbook that no longer worked. And suddenly, they found themselves standing in a world that didn't respond the way they were used to. So here's your edge. You've still got time. Time to stretch yourself, time to adapt, time to experiment and get it wrong without any consequences. So here's some tips on how you can use that time wisely. First, seek situations where you know the least in the room. When was the last time you walked into a room and felt like the least knowledgeable person? Not just unfamiliar, but flat out of your element. If it's been a while, that could be a red flag. You need to start putting yourself in spaces where your uniform or your years of service don't mean anything to the people around you. Places where no one cares that you ran a firehouse or deployed overseas. Putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations is where you grow. Volunteer with a nonprofit that has nothing to do with the first responder community or the military. Attend a local entrepreneur or business meetup. Sit in a conference or a presentation where half the acronyms go right over your head. And the other reason for doing this? It's because that's what transition will feel like. And getting reps now in these low-risk situations makes you more adaptable when it's a high-stakes situation later. And you know what else? Humility is magnetic in the civilian world. When you show up willing to learn, not posture, not lead, just learn, you'll start attracting people who want to help you grow and people who want to help open doors for you. Second, practice saying, I don't know, without offering a solution. Let's be honest. In our line of work, admitting I don't know feels like weakness. We're trained to solve, to act, to never let the team see uncertainty. And that's fine for that world. But out in the civilian world, I don't know, but I'd like to learn. That's a powerful statement. Say it in a job interview, and you've just shown humility and curiosity. Say it in a team meeting, and you've just modeled a growth mindset. Say it to someone younger than you, and you've opened the door to mentorship in reverse. This is how the civilian world builds trust. Not in the know-it-alls, but in the ones who are open to learning what they don't know. That's a shift you can practice today, even in your current role. Next time someone comes up and you're uncertain, resist the urge to fake it or force it. Just say it. I'm not sure, but I want to understand more about it. You'll be surprised how often that builds your credibility, not deducts it. Third, master the art of small talk. I understand for some of you, small talk can feel ridiculous when your daily reality is all things serious. Who cares about someone's dog or their fantasy football team? However, on the civilian side, small talk is the gateway to big opportunities. You're not going to get hired, mentored, or recommended just because of your credentials. You'll get it because someone likes talking to you, because you made them feel comfortable, because you remembered their kid's name or followed up on something they mentioned casually. Start practicing now. Talk to the barista when you're getting your morning coffee. Start a conversation with the clerk when you pick up your uniforms from the dry cleaners. Have that unimportant conversation with another parent when you're at your kids' games. You know, all those things that currently annoy you and drive you crazy. Don't think of it, though, as wasting your time. You're building a muscle. And then when you're sitting in a networking meeting down the road, it won't feel forced. It'll feel natural. Fourth, analyze civilian problem-solving models. You're used to problem solving in high-stress, high-structure environments. There's a clear chain of command, protocols, procedures. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, just execute. On the other hand, away from our careers, many industries use frameworks like agile, design thinking, or flat team structures with collaborative brainstorming. It's less, here's the answer, and more, let's explore possibilities. Now's the time to study those models. Read a book on agile development. Watch a TED Talk on creative thinking. Listen to a business podcast and take notes on how they approach challenges. And if you're asking yourself why, because the sooner you can understand how they think, the easier it'll be to insert yourself into those systems later. And here's the bonus. Start applying those models in your current role, and you'll become more valuable now. Your leadership will notice, your team will benefit. Be one of the ones bringing a new perspective to addressing situations. Sponsorship for this podcast comes from Brothers in Arms USA. They're a veteran-owned and operated clothing and accessories brand that's 100% American-made. Every piece tells a story of brotherhood, respect, discipline, and honor. Deeply inspired by those who serve, those who have served, and those who have paid the ultimate price serving our great country. Whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, a proud patriot, or simply somebody who values high-quality American craftsmanship, they've got something for you. Go check out brothersinarms.com, spelled out fully, brothersandarms.com, and use the promo code TRANSITION20 to get 20% off your purchase. All right, the last one. Learn from civilian leaders who influence without rank. We're used to formal leadership, sergeant this, lieutenant that. But out here, the titles are softer, but the impact is real. So study the people who lead without command. Follow leaders on LinkedIn and social media. Read articles by startup founders, nonprofit directors, coaches. See how they inspire action without leaning on a title. What words do they use? How do they create buy-in? How do they handle conflict, failure, or pushback? This is your playbook now. The more fluent you become in this style of leadership, the more confident you'll be when it's your turn to lead out of uniform. A word of warning. You're going to be tempted to put this off. You'll tell yourself it's awkward or unnecessary, or you don't have time. You'll default to what's comfortable, what you know. But adaptive thinking is a perishable skill. If you don't start building it now, you'll find yourself scrambling to catch up later. And transition's not the time to be playing catch up. You've got the runway, use it. Every book you read, every civilian event you attend, every awkward moment of small talk, it's all adding reps to your future, to your success. Your mission right now isn't just to be great in your current role. It's to become someone who can adapt to any role, any room, any challenge. And that starts with how you think. Long-range group. Start a mental conditioning habit. I know you're early in your career. Maybe you're just a few years in. You're focused on that special assignment or climbing the next rung on the promotional ladder. Transition is not on your radar. And why would it be? Right now, that feels like it's a lifetime away. But as far off as transition is, always remember that it's coming. And if you wait until the last few years of your career to make sure you're okay and to figure out who you are outside of the uniform, you're going to feel lost, like you're standing in front of a door without a key. So what do you do now while you've got time? You condition your mind, not just your body, not just your tactics, your mind. First, experiment with different mindset routines until one sticks. I'm not going to give you some rigid formula here. What works for one person won't always work for another. Some people find clarity in journaling, others in prayer, breath work, daily reflection, gratitude practice, even something as simple as walking outside every morning without your phone. What matters isn't which one you choose. It's that you try something. Try a few. Try them when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're winning. See what lands. And why does this matter? Because you're building a tool set for later. When the pressure cranks up, whether it's burnout, a personal loss, a job interview that shakes your confidence, this is what you'll fall back on. It won't be the job title or the uniform that steadies you. It'll be the mental reps you started doing now. And you'll be ahead of 90% of your peers who didn't start that work early. 2, create your personal philosophy document. This isn't for anybody other than you. This is not something you'll get an attaboy for, but it will help you in the long run. Sit down and write out your personal leadership philosophy. What do you believe in? What values do you live by? How do you treat people when no one's watching? What kind of person are you becoming? Then revisit this several times a year. Tweak it. Grow it as you grow. Because I promise you, one day you'll feel disconnected from the work. Maybe you'll be bitter. Maybe just burned out. But having this document, this compass, you'll be able to look back and say, that's who I am. That's where I'm anchored. Your uniform, your title, that's borrowed. Your philosophy, that's yours forever. Are you tired of coffee that spikes your energy, then crashes you? Trident Coffee is different. Their cold brew is infused with MCT oil, lion's mane, and reishi mushrooms, which gives you steady energy, sharp focus, and brain-boosting benefits, without the jitters. Plus, electrolytes fuel your recovery. They roast their beans to be optimized for cold brew, which means all their coffees taste amazing, not bitter. Brewed hot, over ice, or in your smoothie, Trident Coffee works however you do. Get yours at tridentcoffee.com and use the code TDP15 for 15% off. 3, stress test your own beliefs. Most of us surround ourselves with people who think like we do. We read what confirms our worldview. We talk to folks who validate our mindset. But that creates a blind spot, especially when it comes time to pivot, to shift, to transition. So here's your challenge. Start intentionally seeking out things that push your perspective. Read a book on a topic you disagree with. Listen to a podcast from a civilian industry you've never even thought about. Have a conversation with someone who doesn't understand your world. And instead of trying to correct them, just listen. I'm not saying you have to change your beliefs, but if you never test them, you'll never grow. This is intellectual agility, and it's a competitive advantage, especially outside the uniform. 4, set personal development goals. Unrelated to your career. Here's where most high performers get tripped up. They think personal growth has to be tied to the job, certifications, promotions, specialized skills. But let me ask you this. What are you building outside of this profession? Can you cook? Can you speak another language? Are you setting financial goals, investing? How about learning how to build relationships that last? Pick something to learn that has zero value to the job, but has value to your personal growth. And why? Because when this career is done, you'll have more than the uniform to define you. These personal pursuits will keep you balanced. And right now, they'll make you better at your job too. You'll bring more energy, more focus, and more resilience to your team because you're not running on empty. 5, build a personal advisory circle. Think about your inner circle right now. Are they just your coworkers, your teammates, your squad? That's fine for now, but I challenge you to start looking outside that immediate circle. Find someone who challenges you. Find someone who will call you out. Trust me, we need people who will call us on our bullshit. Find someone who has no skin in your game, but wants to see you win. Could be a mentor from another organization, a family friend who's in business, a civilian leader you met at a community event. Hell, it could be someone you connected with on LinkedIn. They might be 5 steps ahead of you in life. Start building that advisory circle now while you don't need them. Because when you do need them, during your transition, during a career decision, during a personal crisis, that's when it's too late to build them from scratch. This circle, they'll help you see what you can't, and they'll keep you grounded when everything else starts shifting. I know you're busy. You're grinding. You're trying to do it all. You're making sure that you're forwarding your career today, and I respect that. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that you'll figure out the other stuff later. This work, mental conditioning, clarity of purpose, inner resilience. This isn't last-minute prep. It's foundational. And starting it now, that's the smartest move you can make. Not because transition is looming, but because life is. So take the reps, make the space. Don't wait until the stakes are high to wish you had started earlier. All right, to close out this whole episode, remember, things that once felt so solid, routine, rhythm, even your role, start to feel a little looser over time, like something's shifting just out of view. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it's coming. And when it does, it won't ask if you're ready. That's why now, this is the time to start prioritizing what matters most. Not your gear, not your title, but the way you think, the way you lead and connect. Because whether you see it or not, your next chapter is already on its way. And that's why this round was all about upgrading your operating system. Thanks for watching or listening. If something from this episode hits home, or if you've got a question, please reach out. My links are in the show notes. And if you're not already, follow the podcast on your favorite app and subscribe on YouTube. And if you found this helpful, please leave a rating or send it to somebody who also needs to hear it. Lastly, join the newsletter. That's where the real community is.